they got the jagged teeth and stuff going on, and it just brings me a lot of joy when people think of us and send it to us.
And they do the jarring thing, like they chew
do.
like this. Yeah.
It's so nice.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Today's episode of the RV Voice is brought to you by Bish Fix. Ever been stuck with an RV issue miles from the nearest service center? With Bish Fix, expert help is just a video call away, saving you time, money, and keeping you on the road. Try Bish Fix risk-free with a 14-day free trial and use promo code RVVoice at checkout to get 60% off the full retail price.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the RV Voice. I'm talking to another full-timer today, and they've been on the road for 1,618 days is what I saw on their website, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But 4.5 years, I've been in a Keystone Sprinter for the last couple of years, as far as I know, and she actually has cooler hair than me, so we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, today's episode is brought to you by Bish's and Bish Fix. Bish Fix, if you haven't heard of it, you should. You need to look it up. Go to bishfix.com and check it out. What this does is actually a whole bunch of little things, but what it really does is helps you get your problems fixed faster. There's a problem in the RV universe right now that service, you have a problem with your RV. You take it in, your service could take up to 90 days. That is the average time. That is, your RV is going to be in service jail, we call it. But with Bish Fix, we can actually take that down to in the 20s or even less than that if you do the process properly. So that being said, if you are interested in that and you like what you hear when you look up Bish Fix, use this promo code. RV Voice as a promo code gives you 60% off, and that locks you in for years to come. It's $199 a year. It is worth your time. If your money or if your time isn't worth that money, then I don't know what to tell you. But if you're in the RV world, this will help you. We are revolutioning RV service. So that being said, back to the cooler hair than me. They've been on the road for 4.5 years, and they call themselves, let me pull it up here, Llama Llama Adventures. And I want to know why they call her that. So we're going to start off with that. Why do you call yourself Llama Llama?
It actually doesn't have like this big greater meaning like a lot of people think it probably should. We drew a picture of two llamas. If you've seen our sticker decal, it's a circle, and it had two llamas in it, and it just, look at me, I'm causing hearts.
That's awesome.
We're kicking it off with hearts. But it just has these two llamas, and we wrote Llama Llama. This was years before we ever had anything to do with RVing, and we were like, someday we're going to own a business, and we're going to call it Llama Llama. And then when we started RVing, we knew that lots of people become content creators to share about their journey and monetize it as another income stream for their family. So immediately from day one, I was like, okay, Llama Llama Adventure. And we already had the logo. We actually travel with the napkin in a safe as if it has this super high value, which it doesn't.
Sentimental.
It's just very sentimental. So that's what it's about. And we just really like llamas.
Awesome. Well, how rude of me. I didn't say how you doing. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. We are in North Carolina. It's sunny and I can't complain.
Well, you could, but who's listening,
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today. In the Llama Llama Adventure, I totally understand that. I'm actually wearing a sweatshirt that I made today. Oh, not today. I made it a while back, but it's something that I try to do this as well. So I'm sure you could sell. People will buy stuff with llamas on it. I got a friend that literally collects little llamas, like the little keychain llamas or alpacas, whatever they may be. And she's got like 7 of them hanging from her rearview mirror. So I'm sure there's people out there that buy llama llama stuff. So I say go for it.
Yeah, we love it. And we've stayed at tons of harvest hosts and RV overnights at llama farms. So it's just kind of a fun way. And people think of now, because of our branding, they will literally just send us pictures of llamas all the time. And it just they're so cute and ugly and adorable. And, they got the jagged teeth and stuff going on. And it just brings me a lot of joy when people think of us and send it to us.
And they do the jarring thing, like they chew do. Like this. Yeah.
It's so nice.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Oh, man. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you're animated too. So this is going to be cool. But anyway, Leah and Trevor, you guys have been on the road for 4.5 years. I think I did the calculation. It was 1618 is the day you're on, right?
No, it's actually longer than that. So it's been since June 2019 that we've been in the RV life.
Uh-huh.
So it's over 2,000 days. I kind of
Just
stopped
as
counting.
Oh, so your tracker's wrong on your website. Then you got to update
It
that.
is. Yeah, we only update it like every 6 months, but it has like the little llama heads and shows everywhere that we have been. So we've been to
Uh-huh.
38 states. I think there's only 37 states on there right now, but we recently went to
Okay.
New York. Um, New York, New Hampshire, Maine, a whole bunch of places we hadn't been before. We hadn't been to the Northeast. So that was kind of our
Mhm.
adventure for this year. But there's been, because we've been on the road for so long, there's years where we go where we literally do not go to a new to us state.
Uh-huh.
So it's just at this point, we're kind of drawn back to the places that we love, the community that's there. And so we go to places again and again. I'm terrified of being cold. Not terrified. I just don't enjoy being cold. So we do mostly warm weather travel, and we haven't been to any of the like very northern states like the Dakotas. We haven't been there. We haven't been to Minnesota. Anywhere that's too
Oh,
cold.
yeah. I love Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Yeah, very big prairie states. South Dakota, Rapid City side, everything on the western side, beautiful, absolutely wonderful. You should go there. Um, but North Dakota, I haven't spent any time besides going through Fargo to get to Minnesota. So I can't.
Yeah.
Minnesota is wonderful, absolutely wonderful, but mosquitoes are pretty bad. But
Ooh.
very, very cool. I mean, there's so many lakes, crystal clear water. You can see 20 feet from the boat, like straight down. It's absolutely wonderful. That being said, you kind of talked about your personal journey here a little bit, but like as we started, let's kind of dive into that a little more. Like you guys, you're from the PNW, and so is your husband, Trevor. Trevor's not in; he's being shy today or something, but that's okay. That's all right. I understand. But what made you transition into full timing? Like, why'd you get into it? And can you share your story of how you started this RV journey?
Yeah. So this takes like kind of a dark turn, but I was incredibly depressed in 2019. I was going through major PTSD post birth. My daughter was born with sepsis, and we did not
Oh,
expect
shoot.
for her to survive. And so as a mom, my first time mom, almost losing your child and losing all control and then having a NICU baby, none of that, you can't prepare for that. And I was just deeply rooted in depression. And so I knew that I needed something different. I've always loved to travel. So does Trevor. And um, we just, we knew that Lena was, when she was 18 months old, we were like, okay, like we've got to figure out how we can keep traveling. It's the one thing that brings our family joy. And so I started looking up van life. I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
okay, we'll just do like part-time van life, right? And then I started looking out the cost to do a custom build, and I was like, oh my gosh, like we are not rich. We are not made of money.
Ridiculous.
We cannot do that. That is not a good idea. I would have to work more, not
Mhm.
less. And like, it was not a good idea. But while I was researching, I stumbled across the hashtag RV life on Instagram. And within about 5 minutes of finding that hashtag, I picked up the phone and called Trevor and was like, Trevor, we're going to buy an RV. And he was like, we've never been inside of an RV. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought we were buying a van. And I was like, no, they're too expensive. RVs are really, really a lot more affordable. And I said, you know what? We could live in it just full time. And so he's like, not only did we go from like part-time van life being a possibility, but now you want to live in an RV that you've never been inside all the time? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So then the next weekend, we went to an RV dealership so we could stand inside of an RV because we'd never been in one. And we bought the one we stood in, which is actually the one I'm in now, that day, because we're crazy people, and lived in it full time 30 days later. So we
Wow.
just went for it. Like we
Yeah.
wanted it, we wanted a change. And it was kind of like when opportunity comes your way, like you either run with it or you don't, and I'm a
Mhm.
doer. I'm a actionable person. When I have an idea, there's nothing really other than my own ability that will get in front of me. And I knew I wanted to live in an RV, and now we do. And we've been doing it for almost 6 years, 5.5 years, and we love it. So.
Well, that's awesome. It's sorry to hear all about all that, because that's, like you said, you can't plan for stuff like that. And glad she's doing okay, right? She's
fantastic.
Thriving, little cutie. She's running around. Yeah, she looks like she's doing great. So good thing. I had the same, not the same. I was not the same came out, but I was no heartbeat, basically almost brain dead when I came out. I was blue. My lungs were full of blood. I got life flighted. My parents didn't see me for a week, so it was pretty brutal on them. And my mom almost bled out too, so it was a bad deal. But birthing, no joke.
But it taught me a lot. I thought that we were going to have 5 kids, and then I had one with birth trauma, and now a huge part of our story is, like our experience with birth trauma, and then the aftermath of depression. And now we're very vocal that we actually only want to have one child, because it's okay to like have circumstances of life change your route,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how old is she?
She's 6.5.
6.5. Oh man, she's killing it.
Yeah. So that's actually why Trevor's not on here, is because he is playing dad, like he's a dad, he's a full-time dad. And so that's what he's doing. And, we always try to have what we call like the parent who's on shift. So like someone who's giving 100% attention.
Yeah.
Just, that's part of homeschool. And just one of the reasons we travel this way is so that we can spend 100% of our time together. And part of that is making sure that she is getting all the attention she would, actually like way more attention than she would in a school, so she always has someone from her family who's giving her 100% attention.
Yeah, and actually, since we're on that topic, I'm going to skip ahead to a couple of my questions. A big topic in the RV world right now is homeschooling, and how possibly it's detrimental to a child. I think the opposite. I'm more on your guys' side, that I would say that these kids are going to come out more cultured, more able to thrive in different situations, in my opinion. Just because, like, looking back at how I was, like, they tried to beat my personality out of me. Well, I won, but but not everybody can, it's one for the but schooling's a little different animal. There's a structured way of going about things, and you're trying to be yourself, whatever. So what does that look like for you guys, like homeschooling in general? Do you feel like it's better for your child? Do you like it's a better route for your child versus the traditional way of schooling versus public school, private school, whatever it may be? What does that look like for you guys?
So we have been traveling since Lennon was 18 months old. So for us, she never had the structure of a public school or, school outside the home. But we're so glad she doesn't, because she is such a character, kind of like you were saying, like they tried to beat your personality out of you. She has so much individuality, and we love that she gets to just thrive in that every day. So like Lennon is an artist, and I know that a lot of people who are into the arts have trouble in school settings because they are more creative, and like the standard public school setting. I was a public school child, and I would be so much more creative had I not gone to public school, because I just didn't have that same opportunity to be artistic. Now I'm a content creator. I make videos for a living. I thought I didn't have any artistic ability. And here I am selling videos to companies that are storytelling digital art pieces. I'm so excited to be able to provide that opportunity for her to like follow the things that she wants to do, be expressive, be curious. She's been to 38 different states and been to like battlefields, like stood on the battlefield, seen what it smells like, what it feels like, what are the challenges of both, the climate and the culture, and all of those things that you just can't get those feelings out of a textbook. So that's kind of the one part of how we homeschool. We also do a somewhat structured setting 4 days a week, she does a class. She actually does it at 2 o'clock, so it's coming up this afternoon. She does a class with the same teacher. She's been going preschool, kindergarten, first grade, and she's doing second grade with the same teacher. Next year, she'll have to do a new one, but she does it throughout school. And so she does 35 minutes a day with a class with 4 to 6 kids. And they do the, regular school things like math and reading and writing and all of those kinds of things that I don't think I have the skill set to teach, because I actually did go to school to be a teacher, but I didn't finish.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't do that to become a homeschooler, and I think it's impossible for anyone to think that they have like the perfect homeschool setup, because it's not about the format for you. It's about the format for the child and what works best for that child. And so doing homeschool allows that flexibility that you need to make it the best creative space and best learning space for your child. So we are so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it.
Oh, that was absolutely wonderful. Great answer. Because I could see where like maybe some people have that worry for their children to be like, maybe they're not going to get as much exposure around people or something like that. But it sounds from everybody that I talked to that there's more than enough exposure. There's other kids in the campgrounds. Like you have friends that you meet up with. I mean, there was one family that like, yeah, we fly our kid out to go hang out with another RV family for a while.
Yeah.
What the heck? Like, I think these kids are going to come out way more cultured than anybody else. She's 6 years old, been in 38 states. That alone,
Well,
I mean, I didn't go. I was in like by 16 or 18 years old, I was in 5, 6, maybe, maybe a little more, but, very little exposure to all that.
I think one of the best benefits that I have seen the difference in is that typical school children only are around other kids their age. And I think that's actually detrimental, because like when you go into the workforce, I'm not working with everyone who's the exact same age as me. I'm working with people who are both older and younger than me. And I need to be able to get along with those people and not have it be like age based, And so Lennon can make friends with someone who's 65 at the same level that she can do it with someone who's 6. And to her, a friendship is a friendship, like they all have the same things that you have to put into them. And so she's friends with a lot of grandmas, and she's also friends with a lot of kids who are like 3 and younger, because she just adapts to what's available to her. So as we travel, we try our best to connect with other RV families and we also go to like libraries and stuff to connect with the local people. But we're not stuck in one group, so she just gets so much more diversity. I do wish that the RV community was even more diverse. I do wish that was something that we were able, I think it is not quite as diverse as I would hope, but it is diverse in age and where people come from.
Mm-hmm. It's coming. I believe that this, even since I've started in the RV space about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago now, it's definitely a more and more of a possibility I think it grows. The RV community, the RV space grows every year. And even outdoor van, like the van life grows every year. Why? Because it's damn expensive to own a home right now. And if you're not, well off and like buying the house in a certain way and then using that properly, like it's not easy to get into. And there's so many other ways to make money outside of real estate, even though real estate is a great way to make money historically. But right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to just dive in. So I think it's going to get bigger and bigger. And it sounds like they're making, from what I've talked to, like apps, 1,000 trails, coast to coast. They're making it more kid friendly. Because I talked to Katie and Vern recently with the Nomad Nesters, if you know them. Mm-hmm. They started 10, 15 years ago, before all this stuff happened. Like Instagram wasn't really a thing. It was just starting in 2012, same with TikTok, hasn't been a thing. YouTube was still in its early stages, So I think that the lifestyle is only going to expand and grow, and it's only going to get better for you and you alike. So I think the overall culturing or learning abilities of children, like you said, being able to adapt in any situation, more of a chameleon style personality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, she's going to be well off when she's in her 20s. Like she'll be killing it, whatever she's going to be doing. I have zero worries for these kids. So very cool.
And they get to be part, I think my favorite part, and something I hadn't thought about until we were living in it, is the everyday, like mundane things that we have to do, like going grocery shopping, folding our laundry, like putting the dishes away. Like there's, in a typical, like streamlined American dream life, people do those things after work and after school. We do them all throughout the day. And so Lennon actually gets to be part of those tasks and not just a witness of those tasks. So when I go to the grocery store, we can go in the middle of the day and do it together. And she can like help me compare prices. We can do it nice and slow, And so she has the skill set now that when she decides that she's ready to go live life on her own terms, she knows how to grocery shop and knows like she's not at the checkout and is like, oh my gosh, that's $300. I don't have $300, because she's witness and a part of that, of our everyday mundane tasks. I think for me, like when I reached adulthood and was like, okay, now I have to, pay bills and like be responsible. That is the most shocking thing for most like transition from children, adolescence to adulthood, is that just shock of like, I have to figure out health insurance, like all these things. And I try to include her in those things so that they can be less scary when she gets there on her own.
Yeah, that's a good way to go about life. It's like you're not there. You're learning as you go. The mundane task. Yeah, I hate. Pardon my French. I dislike the idea of the 9 to 5 because there's so many other ways to do it. Nowadays making money, it's never been easier than before. It's you can make money sitting at your home and just on one computer. You don't need anything crazy. You can make a ton of money. It depends on how hard you want to work and how hard you want to invest your time and all that. So it's very interesting. And then the kid growing up doing that as well. I mean, she's going to be well off. I'm not worried about these kids at all. But I know that there is some benefits as well going to a school, but you're opening yourself for other things too. Pros and cons to both, right? Pros and cons. So
exactly. I'd get a lot more work done if I didn't have to homeschool at the same time.
There you go. But anyway, so like, since we're talking about that, we'll come back to one other thing here in a little bit. But daily life, you kind of walked into that, challenges and solutions. Like, what does a typical day look like for you? Sounds like you have the mundane, the mundanity of it all, the normality of it all, but you bring her into it, which is awesome. But what else is there challenges like cooking, cleaning, laundry, a big challenge that you face getting into RVing that you didn't really expect, shipping, mail, packages, all that. Let's kind of dive into that. What does that look like? And like, how did you overcome some of those things?
So I think one of the challenges that is unique to our family is we're actually vegan. And so we have to, like, we can't just go to any Piggly Wiggly or like, there's a grocery store called Piggly Wiggly. And
no kidding.
That's the closest grocery store to where we're camped right now.
Yeah.
And so we find ourselves in these like rural areas, and they just don't have good quality access to clean ingredients. And we are very particular about what we eat and what we consume. And
as you should be.
Yeah. And I love to cook too. So I spend probably at minimum 2 to 3 hours a day cooking between all of the meals. So we definitely have challenges of finding like good access to grocery stores. And one of the biggest challenges RVers have is that no grocery store layout is exactly the same. So you go into
oh my gosh.
And so you think grocery shopping will take an hour. No, it takes 2 because you can't find any.
I get that. I moved across the country. I had my stuff down pat. Take me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, every grocery store here, even if it's the same name, not even close to each other. Oh,
Exactly.
that's hilarious.
So that has been one of my like top of the list challenges. And I know how just not of a big deal it sounds like, but it drives me nuts.
That's
So,
good. Oh, wow.
and then the packages, that's always challenging. But I also, the benefit to the package challenge that I find is that I actually buy less because I can't accept packages at every campground. I have to call them and be like, hey, can we get packages there? Do you charge a fee for it? Is it per box or like per week, or what's the structure? And so we actually consume less just product in general because it's harder for us to get, which is a hidden benefit to RVing because one, you're already like living in a smaller space, so you're accepting more minimalism. But I actually kind of dislike the challenge of not being able to receive packages consistently because I'm just less likely to order something that I don't need.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, I never thought about the grocery store thing for
The grocery
RVers.
store.
That makes total sense. I mean, you gotta you gotta one prep enough to bring with you, and you're at a finite amount of space again. With cabinetry, with your fridge space is smaller typically, unless you get a residential fridge, which you can get in there.
We
which
don't
is some
have
of our,
one.
yeah. So you have a finite amount of space, and then packages obviously another finite amount of space. So you can only have so much. If you get something, you probably got to get rid of something, unless it's like a usable, right?
Yes.
So interesting aspects there. Any other challenges that you've come to see? Like, what about laundry? Do you have a one on you or no?
So we don't have a washer dryer.
Yeah.
We went 2.5 years without a solution for that. We were just using the campground laundries, but it was really scary actually the first year because we were COVID RVers. Like we purchased pre-COVID, so like we already lived in our RV and were uh, living this lifestyle before all of the closures and all of the government shutdowns and all the things. So we lived in our RV during that experience. And there was this, like, especially in the Pacific Northwest, they were threatening to shut laundry rooms. And I was like, I don't even have a laundry machine. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And so I was like living in this fear of where do I do my laundry? Like, do I need to hand wash it in my sink?
Mm-hmm.
We lived through that. I did look up the options, which is like those portable washing machines, because we don't have even a washer dryer hookup in our RV.
Mm-hmm.
We have 36-foot, 2 slide outs. There's no slide outs in the bedroom, so it's I call it a mid-size RV. Like anything over 40 feet, I feel is large. But for full time, I feel like if you're under 40 feet, you're in more of the mid-size RV. And so 2.5 years ago, we finally got tired of the laundromat setup and we ordered this portable washing machine. It's less than $200 on Amazon. So I made that money back real quick in all the money I saved in laundry. And so it's kind of big. I take it out. I think it weighs like 20 pounds. So not heavy, but I take it out every time I need to take a shower and just move it out and then move it back in. It's probably like a quarter of the size of what you would wash in a regular washing machine, but we would do all of our clothes in it. We just do 1 to 2 loads a day. And we're able to keep up on our weekly laundry. We can't wash our bedding in it, so we do still have to use laundromats for that. But I know that especially when people are looking at full time, that like they think they have to have a washer dryer hookup or laundry machine. We also only have 3 of us. So I do think maybe my answer would change if I was traveling with like 3 to 5 kids, like a lot of people are. But we really like our just super simple portable washing machine. And I wish I had not waited 2.5 years to buy it.
Yeah, I've seen those before. They kind of just stand up, right? They're nothing too crazy. You load it from the top, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Do you have that on your store by chance?
I do. Yeah. It's in our Amazon storefront. Although
there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one's really great.
Awesome. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I mean, I don't know how I would handle that personally. Like, would I do the? Uh-oh, you there? Okay, I thought you froze there for a
Yeah.
second.
Oh no.
I don't know how I don't know how I'd handle that, but interesting. So yeah, that definitely played a little part in your kind of challenges because you're going through COVID.
Yeah.
That's a totally different era. That was
Yeah.
almost like a weird, and we're going to remember that for a while. That was a strange time in everybody's life. So interesting. Now, we didn't touch on this, but I want to touch on it because there's a lot of planning that goes along with what you did. But it sounds, from what you said real quick, you didn't really have a lot of prep and planning. You just kind of had this idea and you took action on it. Is that really it? I mean, if that's it, we can move right on from that question. But was there any planning or more preparation involved to getting into RVing?
So we actually had a really unique take on it, which I don't hear often. So we purchased it really quick and moved into it really quick. But then we actually still stayed stationary, more or less. We were moving just between two parks in Idaho every 3 months. And that was just because that's how they allowed us to have the monthly rate, was we couldn't overstay longer than 3 months. Otherwise, we'd have to have like an annual rate. And anyway, it was a way to keep costs down. And I was still working for a local company in Boise. Thumbs up. I do
Oh
love that company.
yeah.
I was working for a real estate company and I was training real estate agents on technology and how to like have a community and just how to stay top of mind and always be someone's go-to realtor. So I was still working. Trevor was working remotely 9 to 5 for a software. He's a software engineer. And so we needed to finish out like our contracts for a year. We didn't need to, but I'm an overcommitter and I gave my boss a 1 year notice. Like that's how much I loved working for that company. It was like,
Oh yeah.
I have a year and then we're going to start traveling. So we lived stationary for a year. And I actually think that was one of the greatest things that we did because like I told you, we had never stepped into an RV until the day we purchased one. And so we didn't know how to dump the tanks. We didn't know how to tow. We purchased the truck 7 days prior. I traded in a Mini Cooper for it. Like
Nice.
that's the level of green that we were in RVing, like we couldn't tow our house with our Mini Cooper. So yeah, it was just such a great way to learn all the things and not feel the threat of not having a fallback. So like we had friends and family in the area. And these two things did happen in that first year. If our furnace failed when it was 12 degrees, and if our air conditioner failed when it was over 110, we had a safety net. Like we were able to go stay with friends and family while we took it in for warranty service. That was the perfect setup and structure because we never felt overwhelmed. So a lot of people who are curious about RVing will ask me like, what can we do to prepare? And I don't suggest waiting until you're ready. I suggest doing it now and getting ready while you live stationary so that way you aren't towing 300 miles away from your safety net and then having things fail. You've already done the trial and error, tow back and forth to two places for 3 months, get comfortable, break things, and then leave.
Figure out all the quirks, figure out how to do it, how to dump the tanks, what's this, that, one, that, and the other. You get real familiar with everything. That makes sense. Like I don't want to wait. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this lifestyle, get into it, but stay close to like what's normal. So like I've never heard that. I've talked about 15, 20 of you now. Like that's a good way of doing it. Cause some people start doing like, we're going to do it. And they go from living their lifestyle, sell their house, sell everything they got, get into a whatever fifth wheel or travel trailer it may be, and they hit the road every 2 days. They're moving. They're going to burn out in a couple weeks, But that's a good idea. I never thought about that. Just like I almost moved into an RV moving out here from Nebraska. I was like, well, why not? I did not do that. So I live in a house still. The sticks and bricks, as y'all like to call it, but interesting.
Sticks and bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
it's a unique perspective, but I've helped several families because we've been online now for so many years. We've built relationships with people who've watched us and have known that that's how we started, and so we've helped at least 3-4 families transition in exactly that way. Some of them have no intention to ever even travel full time. Maybe they're doing this simply for catching up on debt, like if you live a very intentional lifestyle in one place in an RV, it can cost more or it can cost less. And if you plan it in the right way, you can actually do like a 5-year plan. Like, I want to live in an RV, pay off all my debts, and then I'll start anew, and like those people, not everybody wants to do it for travel. Some people just simply want to do it for the more minimal way of life or the cost savings. It can be cost savings, but these are, you can spend $10,000 a month, or you could spend $2,000 a month.
Perfect. You alluded right to my next question. So we're going to go right into it. Financial aspects, everybody. Let's talk about this one. So this is obviously a worry for a lot of people because, like I was saying, housing market's really hard to get into, but also getting an RV and buying a truck to pull it isn't always the cheapest way of going about life either, because that can be very expensive if you don't do it right. So financial aspects. How do you sustain your lifestyle? Because you were talking about how your job was here and how is Trevor still a software engineer? I think he was. I think I saw it on your website.
So this is actually such a intense, like, real life problem for us right now. Over the last year, so Trevor was laid off last November. It's almost exactly to this day. And at that time, we had been, I had been growing my business as a content creator slowly for a few years, more as like a hobby with the intention to eventually turn it into like a bigger business, a bigger part of our income. But when he was laid off, this is something we didn't know. And I think this is such an important thing for people to think about. We did not know that he would be denied unemployment benefits because of our travel lifestyle. So when he was laid off and we went to claim his unemployment benefits, we were told that he was not eligible because we were not in the state of Idaho, and it's different for every state. So know this for your state. But in the state of Idaho, they require you to be physically within 100 miles of your home address at least one calendar day every 30 days. So that we were in Texas when this happened.
Fly home.
Well, there's a cost to that, like there's a cost to that. And there were it was actually probably my busiest month I had ever had in my content business. And a lot of the upcoming contracts I had were location based. And so we were just up against all of these new challenges. And it was like, okay, well, I have opportunity to bring income in, but it's location based. You can't claim unemployment benefits. You make more money per hour than I do. What do we do? Right?
Yeah.
And it was this overnight problem. And then we were like, okay, well, let's take this a step further. Can we get Medicaid? Like, can we get healthcare assistance? No, we cannot. Can we get food assistance? Again, no, because we weren't in Idaho. So I just want to share this, like scream it from the rooftops, like, have a backup plan if you're depending on a 9 to 5, because if you lose that income overnight and you cannot make any of those eligibilities, your life can be up in flames. And like, that's what we've been dealing with for the last year. So Trevor is technically a software engineer. He's been freelancing for the last year. And because my business was growing and booming, we decided, like, let's give a push and see, can we survive on that income alone? And for about 6 months, he had a contract for 1 year where he was able to do freelancing with, it was supposed to be 18 months of work. And then at the end of October, we found out it was only 12. So we are back to relying solely on content creation for income. But, we gave a good solid 6 months. And man, when you like are just when you need $1 quick, you learn
Mhm.
really fast, like, is this sustainable? And so it became like, how much do I need to charge on average? How many contracts do I need to do per month in order to meet our goal income per year? And we needed 6 months of data to be able to know, right? And so within 6 months, we knew that we were not going to meet our goal. While I was able to, in 6 months, 4x my business, that was not going to
Wow.
be enough. Yes, thank you. That I have to
Yeah.
celebrate that. Like, that's huge.
Wow, I won't do it. You can do it.
It
Yeah, if you
won't
hold it
do
long enough. Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But we had the data we needed, and so we're kind of in this limbo right now with financials where we don't know if we're gonna make it each month. Like, Trevor is still looking for more freelancing opportunities because we would love for that to be the way we lived. It did add a whole nother layer of flexibility to our lifestyle because while you can work remote, you're typically still, if you're working for another business, working a 9 to 5. Uh, and we really like not having to set alarm clocks. And Trevor works best from the hours of like 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. He does not like to work in the morning.
Yeah.
We love to have our mornings together and like do our homeschooling, do our workout, and just kind of have like a weekend day in the morning and then work when our daughter goes to bed.
Yeah.
And so we've fallen in love with that added flexibility that we got to sample this last year. But he's also open to any type of either part-time or full-time employment because we would love the access to healthcare benefits and all of these things. So all that to say, there is no like right or wrong way to earn an income in being a nomad, but you do need to find like backup plans.
No,
So
yeah.
now that we're going into year 2 of full-time 2 entrepreneurs, I have started adding a new service where I actually service content creators and help them understand their value benefit. And I'm calling it content creator monetization coaching. So I'm teaching people, especially women, because I just love women. And I see women all the time struggling to see their value. And so I help them to go from trade to paid. And I'm just loving it so much. I start December 1st. I've accidentally been doing this coaching for free for the last year and a half, 2 years.
Mhm.
And it's just, I'm so excited to have this new income stream and like fill my cup and other women's cup at the same time.
Perfect. And they can contact you here, find you and all that there.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect.
Llama Llama Adventure.
Check them out. That'll take them right to your website. So if they see that, I'll put the links in the description as well when we're all done here. But that's interesting. You find ways, right? They said there's a one I said earlier. There's a million ways to make money now.
Yes.
Now, there's also being able to fill your cup as well. That's important. If you're not working and you don't feel, if you are working and you feel like, it doesn't fill my cup, there's some problem with that. This does. I got lucky. I like what I do. I get to talk to people and do something that I'm passionate about. So, but that's important, being able to do something you enjoy and you're passionate about while you're on the road, because otherwise, there's a whole slew of things. But is there any budgeting advice around that? You kind of hit some like, hey, this is good. This is kind of how you do it. Like you can learn real quick when you like, I have to make money work, but like, what about budgeting advice as a full timer? Because there's Thousand Trails, there's other apps that can help you with things, Gas Buddy and all that. But what other budgeting advice would you suggest to someone looking into the RV life?
Anyone, especially if you're traveling with children, the best way to save money is Thousand Trails. And I know that every family will tell you that you're not getting like a high-end resort experience, but you are getting access to other like-minded travel families and people who are choosing to live outside the lines. So it's one, low cost enough. Like if you're only going to do this lifestyle for a year, don't buy the upgraded package. But if you plan to do it longer than that, you will save so much money, like so much money, because we bought our upgraded membership in 2019 with the anticipation that we would start traveling outside of stationary living 2020 and beyond. And we bought it for $7,000 at that time, and we pay $1,000 a year to maintain it. So that means over 5 years, we paid 7, 8, 9, 10, 1,100, or sorry, $11,000. And we've camped for over 2,000 days. Like, sure, we go outside of that system sometimes, especially now that I do a lot of resort content creation. But I'm in 1,000 trails right now.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, might as well. I mean, there's how many? Do you know how many there are across the U.S.? Because it sounds like they're everywhere.
Yeah, so including trails collection, there's over 200.
200 across the U.S. I mean, and that's pretty. There's pretty spread out to where it works from travel.
The hardest part is the Midwest. There are not a lot of locations in the Midwest. So a lot of people will just like whee from one coast to the other.
No.
Yeah, the Midwest doesn't get a lot of love from the full-time RVers, but mostly because Thousand Trails isn't in those areas.
Okay, well, I'll have to try my best to make that a difference because there's a lot about the Midwest that people are missing out on, which is okay.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Which is
yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, those are good budgeting advice. 1,000 Trails. I've heard that basically everybody I've talked to, even my cousins are full-time travelers right now. They've been full-time for a while. They use 1,000 Trails as well. I brought it up to them like, oh yeah, we got that. Very cool. But you did mention, so 1,000 Trails specifically, community and connection. You've made your own community with your, content creation. It sounds like you brought a lot of women in and helped them out, try to make them, help them along their way of making money in a different way. Trade, not paid, like you were saying, or paid, not trade, right?
Yes, paid, not trade.
Paid, not trade. So that's a wonderful thing.
I probably said trade, not paid. Probably got
I don't remember. They're too close to sounding words.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you find a sense of community in the RV community in general? I know it sounds like Lennon, you said that she has 65-year-old friends and also 3-year-old friends, being 6.5 years old, which I think is sweet as all can be. But do you see that? I mean, RV rallies, community events, do you see those, like actual community with that?
Yeah, we've gone to several different rallies, but we have also noticed that just like in any regular life, there are still cliques, and I'm trying to be more mindful as we live in this community longer to not fall into the clique, because I feel that was such a negative thing in my sticks and bricks life. I've always tried to be inclusive and inviting of other people who are different than me. And I'm like, I'm a hippie. Like, I'm obviously kind of weird. So you would think that would be like the standout. When people think about RVing, they think like, hippie living down by the river. That's actually not at all what exists in the RV community in this day and age. So I stick out like a sore thumb. But I try to embrace it and try to keep my individuality and who I am and invite others who maybe there's so many people that join this RV lifestyle because they're looking for community. So I try to embrace them with open arms and let them know that like they can come as they are, So while I love the RV community, I've been in it long enough to see that there is major divide, and I'm trying to find ways to bridge that gap.
Yeah, interesting. I was wondering, just recently, we've been kind of talking about rallies quite a bit recently because of what they do. I mean, it sounds like there's thousands of RVs that just show up in one spot, and it's a big deal. Kind of around that, you said it sounds kind of cliquey, or it is kind of cliquey, just like the stigma of it all. I can see that because I'm guessing there's the older crew that have been doing it forever, that like the big money RV Class A types. I'm assuming that's, if you're watching this, I'm not pointing fingers at you. I'm just putting the groups together. And then there's the newbies, right? And then there's other people that are like maybe a little rundown RV, but they're still having a great time doing the whole life. But like, what does it look like for kids in that? What do you do with that? Like, what do they do? Do they have stuff to do at RV rallies? Is there stuff that like they cater to children at 1,000 Trails? What does that look like? I mean, is there events for adults? Kind of break that down if you could.
Thousand Trails does a really good job with that, especially seasonal travel. So like when we go down, this will be our 4th time going to Florida in the winter. We always love going to those places because with the warm weather, lots of families will show up and community just comes with that. Like when there's a large group of people, it's just those types of events are going to come together. There's a lot of homeschooling events. So like, other full-time moms will be like, hey, like I reached out to this museum and they were going to give us this price for the day. We can take all of our kids. And I love that. And then the Thousand Trails and other resorts do a really good job too of like, like they'll literally give you a calendar when you check in. A calendar!
Whoa! Why do you get all the cool stuff? I can't even.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always making the screens explode. But
awesome.
It's so much fun, and our daughter loves that so much. And like I said, I think I had the artistic ability beat out of me when I was a child going to public school, where I just was like not creative. And so I love that even at these RV parks, it's not age based. Like you could be the 65-year-old who goes to that activity. The activities are for all ages. And I love that because then, if it's bingo and like typically we think old people go to bingo, right? Well, no, the kids can go to bingo too, and everybody can enjoy that experience together. So staying at different resorts, Thousand Trails does a good job, but I love staying at Sun Outdoors. I think that they do a really fantastic job of laying out activities. We stayed at Sun Outdoors Sarasota. If you're going to Florida, it's one of my favorite places to take your kids or your families for all ages. They have like a literal archery center.
No kidding.
You can just go shoot archery in there. And they've got a whole clubhouse, and the whole thing has shelves, like a garage shelving unit. They have that along all the walls with all these arts and crafts, and I'm just like, this is incredible.
Sun Outdoors, SUN Outdoors.
Yeah.
In Sarasota, I love St. Pete, Tampa, all that area. Wonderful.
That's my favorite area. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good spot to be. It's my dad used to work out of there. And wonderful spot to be. I could spend some major time there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We go there every winter. So
awesome. So it sounds like, as the community grows and along with the community, there's a lot of things to do at Thousand Trails, whether it be them or even other campsites. So that's really cool. Cause I was wondering about that. Like you just show up and like you're just camping, is there anything to do at these places?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing some of these resorts are kind of way high end. So I've seen some in the Cali area and like even Phoenix area that are like, they have their own golf course. They have their own pool. They have all whole sorts of other things to do. So that's really cool to understand that
the amenities can be such a draw. But also, if you stay in those places exclusively, now you're looking at like the $10K a month. Like, yeah. So we kind of go. So I always say, like, we go from bougie to boondocking. So we'll stay in like this really nice place, and then we'll go like stay just on our solar for a couple of days to like make up for the cost.
It balances out, right?
It does.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, along those lines, what about some advice for beginners? What would you just like suggest maybe picking their first RV, or what would you maybe say who someone's on the fence? Like, what would you tell them, or misconceptions about the RV community, anything like that? Someone trying to pick their first RV, what would that be? Or maybe even looking at yourself 4 or 5 years ago when you started this, what would you tell yourself before you started RVing? It's a big question.
That one almost stumps me because like I don't think I'm the kind of person who would ever tell myself something different. I would never go back and try to redo something. I would just want it to unfold exactly how it did.
Okay.
I still and people ask us all the time, we're one of the few families who have stayed in the same unit from day one. Everyone's like, you still love that RV? And I'm like, yes, like we have not found another floor plan that works better for us. I think one of the things that if you're considering RV life that you have to think about, step one is like what type, right? So like, do you want a Class A? Do you want a towable? Do you want a fifth wheel? Do you want a travel trailer? How long are you going to be doing it? So how much money are you willing to drop? Do you want it to be able to go off road? Are you going to put solar in it? What kind of batteries? There's so many different tangents I could go off on. I love the RV we have. I'll tell you the few things I wish that we had in this RV, which isn't exactly your question, but it's like making your list of non-negotiables, right? So the biggest challenge, this is so funny to me, the biggest challenge we have in this specific RV is that we technically have two GFCI breakers. We're going electrical.
Why you got another new one? You see that?
Electrical.
Goodness gracious.
But the only outlet in our RV, every single one is on the same GFCI, except for the one underneath my closet right here. And so we like to do all seasons camping. So we did our first year stationary in Idaho with extreme temperatures, highs and lows, single digits, even a few negative days, all the way up to like 112
15.
or so.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And, we need to be able to comfortably keep it cool. And keep it warm. And we've had an issue with both. So one is the GFCI breakers. We cannot use space heaters. We can't use more than one space heater in this unit, which is incredibly difficult when you're trying to cold weather camp, because while your furnace is effective, it's also a lot more expensive to pay for propane than it is to use the free electrical when you're not paying for electricity. So it takes your cost up a lot. Like if you're filling your propane tank once a week for $40 to $80, that's a lot of money over 4 weeks a month. So that was kind of one of those things that I wish we had known. The other is check where like the air intake drops are in your house. Lennon does not have one in her room. There's no air conditioner port hole at all. There's no cold air dump in her bedroom. So her bedroom is like 20 degrees warmer in the summer than any other space in our house. And so if you're going to be doing seasonal camping, do your research, make sure that your rig can handle it appropriately. We made this one work, but it's not the most ideal for that. And then other simple things like weight. I don't know. I feel like this has probably come up on your podcast before, but weight is such an important thing to think about from a safety standpoint. And I don't think a lot of people who are green to the RV space are aware of how important it is. We see people all the time with like a single rear wheel truck towing a rig that's like 12,000 pounds dry to like 18,000 pounds dry. And we're like, whoo, that does not look safe. So, it's just a matter of like doing the research on the safety and the comforts, like the everyday comforts.
Yeah. And just a real quick plug in on the weight thing. If you haven't seen our conversation with me with Big Truck, Big RV, JD, and then Josh, the RV nerd, I had them in on safely towing, or basically all the myths and misconceptions about towing an RV. So I'll put that in the link down here in the description. But that was a big point. Weight is very, like, you can really mess yourself up. It's a safety concern. You can mess up your truck. You can mess up your trailer. You mess up your lives in general, just because of safety. So like, that's a big one, but it makes sense. I mean, like you said, it sounds like you had a specific floor plan that works for you guys, but there's obviously a few different things. You have to use fans in the summertime to get even AC into your daughter's room. This is not a one size fits all. Talk to somebody that knows your stuff, do your research to find the right RV for you, whatever that may be, towable, drivable, whatever. Pop-up camper, it doesn't matter. Do your research beforehand. You guys found one quite quickly, it sounds like, and you made it work real well for you. So great advice. So thank you for all that, because it was all very good information. So what about future plans? Where are you heading next? What are you doing? Do you see yourself evolving as in within the RV, I guess lifestyle. What does that look like for you guys?
That is such a good question. I think we're just living in, I had brought up like the financial hurdles of the last year, and right now we're just doing the like daily life, like can we survive? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's just the transparency, right? Is like I I know that whatever we do, we will be living in this RV. We have no intentions. I made a reel recently about it, talks about like who we are, why we're doing this. I actually walk through our rig while I'm talking about it. And the hook on the reel is never owned a home, never will. And it just comes down to the fact that like we see ourselves as true nomads. We don't have any desire to connect with a particular location permanently. We don't know if that means RVing forever. We know it means traveling forever and being nomadic, whether it's international. Um, we have we're too curious. We're too curious to ever settle down. Like we have no intentions of ever just being still. And I think for us, like we're just living on a whim, and I kind of love it. And it's so funny because I come from being a really type A person to now living something totally different. And I feel more happiness. Like we started this podcast talking about how we started because of my depression, right? And if you look at that woman 5.5 years ago and the woman I am now, just the confidence and overall happiness is intoxicating. Like it's just unfathomable how much happier I am. And so I'm just not willing to give that up.
That's awesome. It's kind of like, what's your why, right? Well, sounds like you found it. I don't even have to ask the question because you answered all of it. Like it's you came from a state of not so much fun mentality, emotionally, whatever it may be, with what you went through. And then you came to find your own little piece of joy, which is fantastic. I mean, being on the road, you're with your family all the time. That's a big reason why people do this. It's like an unexpected benefit. Like it turns into like, wow, this is what I need. And I don't want to go back to the regular life of them, for 8 hours a day. You're not going to see your family 8 to 10 hours a day. You won't. And then you come back and then you don't really get to build the time. So I envy you guys and I'm happy for you at the same time. So good for you. I'm happy that you're happy,
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say life's too short to stay in one spot.
Like, there you go. I mean, I moved out here because I was kind of the same way. I felt like I was stuck in the, what's the right word?
A funnel.
Yeah, a little bit. It was stuck in contentment. Everyone was like content with being where they are, where they're at. I'm like, no, I'm not. I gotta leave, and I did. So here I am, talking to people like you.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's kind of run with that. You already said your why, so I'm not going to ask the what's your why because you nailed it. You crushed it. And but what about some favorite experiences you've had? Places you've seen, things you've done as a family, or unexpected benefit that you've come across within the RV lifestyle?
I think we just like cannot stop exploring. Like you could ask me this every week and I'll have a major highlight. Last week we were in New York City, which was an absolute dream for me. I'm a city girl. While I'm obsessed with nature and the outdoors, you can put me in a city and I will thrive just as well. So like going to New York City was a bucket list item for me. And my husband also loves city life. He's obsessed with public transportation. So getting to live as New Yorkers for the week just was superior. Like one of the most superior experiences we've ever had. I can't wait to go back and do it all over again. That was a highlight for us. The other highlight for us was a nature-based experience this year. So I'll just give you this year's highlights. Was Acadia in Maine.
I've heard good things.
It was incredible. And so we have been traveling more or less in the eastern United States for the last 3 years, and not to like hard knock the eastern United States, but they are flat and a little boring as far as nature goes. At least the states we've been to. We've been to a lot of flat areas, and we're from the Pacific Northwest, so we like some mountains. We like some, you know, some snow. Yes, that's why we just saw some backdrop today. I was so excited because like that's what we've been missing, you know? Yeah, it's what we've been missing. And so Acadia to us was just such a refreshing experience to be able to use our hands and like rock climb and like actually get dirty, and it was fantastic. If I have to recommend 2 trails for people if they're going to Acadia, for if you're doing like a family experience, and this will depend on the hiking confidence of your children, but Lennon did the Beehive Trail. It's only like, how long is it? I think it's under 2 miles, but it's a 500-foot climb, and it's on an open rock face, so it's definitely dangerous. But if your kids are like confident hikers, that was such an incredible experience, both for her and for us, to see her do that and overcome a challenge and then, you know, be on top of this beautiful mountain. That was so cool. And then for adults, probably don't take your kids on this unless they're like really advanced hikers. And also tall. So I'm not tall. You can't tell that in a podcast, but I'm under 5 feet tall.
I was going to ask that actually.
Really? Yeah.
I saw your videos and you're standing in the doorway. I'm like, I'm almost touching them. So I'm like, you're like halfway down. Like, geez.
I don't even know if I can touch the doorway with my hands all the way up, you know, like, so hiking in Acadia was challenging because there was the hikes that we did have rungs. So the other one was called the Precipice, and it's like ladders and rungs on open rock face. And so I actually could not reach some of the next things to pull myself up. So I had to depend on like my arm strength to pull myself up. But wow, it was so incredible. It's over 1,000 feet elevation and under a mile. It's about 0.9 miles, 1,000-foot elevation gain, but one of the most incredible hikes I've ever done. And I was raised a hiker. Like, I love to hike. So highly recommend that for someone looking for a nature experience in Maine.
Very cool. Yeah, I've heard great things about Acadia. I've never been to the Northeast at all, like at all. I will get there eventually, but it's not in the cards right now. I got other places. I don't like that many people. That's my biggest pride. Like, I just don't want to be around that many people.
I get that.
But yeah. So did you see or think of any unexpected benefits while RVing? I mean, it sounds like you kind of hit it with your what's your why, you know, spending time with your family and all that. But is there anything that kind of maybe you've noticed about yourself or your family that maybe you grew differently or that you wouldn't get in regular life? Anything like that?
I don't know. Anything specific. I think like something that we have done more of that I thought we were already doing well. I thought we were already living like a healthy lifestyle with fitness and clean eating, but I don't know what it is about living in a tiny kitchen that makes you want to cook more. Doesn't make sense. No, but I just love filling my house with like these warm, delicious smells and scents, and have my windows and the breeze open. And I don't know, we have just really thrived in our health. We love to work out outside. If I could never lift weights inside of a building again, I would be so happy. We travel with a whole exercise setup. So I don't know what it is about just having direct access to the outdoors that makes you want to live a healthier lifestyle, but that has kind of happened for us. And I feel like it's something about just, I don't know, having the access to being outside all the time.
Interesting. That's I wouldn't have thought of that myself, to be honest with you. I mean, I like the idea of, you know, I guess Muscle Beach, right? You get to work out outside, right? That'd be all right with me. I'd be okay with that because I don't like going into, like, if the gym has no windows, I won't go in it. Like, I'm like, I just don't like
terrifying.
it. Yeah, it's like, what's going on here? I don't, whatever. It is what it is. But
I think
that's an
vitamin
interesting.
D. Yeah, maybe it's the vitamin D. Just the natural absorption of vitamin D
Yeah.
changed my experience with fitness because like you said, like I used to work out inside. I went to Orange Theory, which I actually love the Orange Theory experience, but it was still
Mhm.
inside. And like I went at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and it was dark. And so I wasn't, I was getting like all these endorphins, but I wasn't getting the vitamin D. And I think there's just something to be said about access to vitamin D from sun.
Yeah.
It changes your overall experience in life. I think if you're having a bad day, like just go outside. Just
You'll
go
figure it
outside.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps a little bit. It definitely does. I grew up just being outside all the time. Like I was the pool kid. My parents didn't go. I didn't go to daycare. I went to the pool. Like that just dropped me off. So like it was
Oh,
a good way of.
wow.
I grew up in a small town where it could kind of work that way, and I was a good swimmer. I was basically done with all my swim classes at a very young age because that's just what they did. They just like go learn to swim, and I just lived at the pool. So it was one way of doing it, but I was a very happy child a lot of it. And I just spent most of the time outside because I was
Because
a
you were
country kid
outside.
anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
very happy kid.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
lifting outside, I
outside.
could like that. Lifting outside,
Yeah.
that's a good one. I like that. All right. Well, how about some gadgets and gizmos? You love your little tiny home. You've had it for 5 years. I see you got a whole bunch of like your jewelry on the side there. I like that. You make it real
Yeah.
homey. What are some like favorite gadgets and gizmos? You did mention your washing machine. Yeah, that's a good one. But
Dishwasher
what?
is my second.
Oh, is that on there
Countertop
too?
dishwasher. So
Is
that's
this
from Rec Pro. Rec Pro has all the good upgrades for appliances.
okay? Is that are you
Yeah,
kind
so
of?
we have an affiliate link with them.
Is it
So
here?
it is not on there. It is on my link tree though. But anyone's welcome to message me if they're looking to shop, especially, we've got all the holidays coming up. So if you're looking for like upgrades, gadgets, gizmos, upgraded appliances, let me know. I've probably picked them out and maybe not
Mhm.
been able to purchase them for myself yet, but I have done the research.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's just so many different things. I would say we don't do a lot of physical items in general.
Mhm.
What we recommend most often is things like RV Trip Wizard by RV Life. That is a absolute non-negotiable for me in RV Life as far as like a app to use for route planning because you can
Mhm.
put in your RV's length and weight and it will route for you. And you can also click like avoid tunnels. A
And
lot of
height,
tunnels
yeah.
don't. Yes, yes. So we're only 13 feet, but I put 13.6 in because I like that extra 6 inches of clearance.
Just in case.
Yeah, like what if they repaved, right? Like,
Yeah, or get one
so
rock,
yeah. Yeah. So that is a non-negotiable app. We also use RV. We just started using them in January. It's ARVIE. And it is it's not exclusively for state parks. So it's not fair to say it's just for state parks, but it is a booking tool that you can use. It does have an annual or monthly cost, whichever you prefer, but it will search for sold out sites for you. So sold out campsites. So it's very, very useful in seasonal places like Florida, where all the state parks are very desirable. Everyone wants to stay at the springs, right? Like, and be with the
Mhm.
manatees or on the beach. So I think we ended up over the last 365 days. I can't remember the last time I looked, but I think it was somewhere around 90 days of our RV camping was booked with that service. And they were all sold out sites. You can also just book things. But like we stayed in places like the Florida Keys, Bahia Honda, which is very common to want to camp there, Curry Hammock State Park, John Pennekamp, Silver Spring State Park in Central Florida. A lot of these hard to get in what we call impossible campsites. And we have been to Florida 3 years before we ever got into a single state park. And now we've stayed over 90 days in 1 year because of that tool. So I highly recommend RV.
Interesting. Yep. Never heard of that one. That's a new one for me. So I will, I'm going to cut that and I'm going to tag them. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So they're a newer business. They're in I think it's the first 3 or 4 years. They have other competitors, but the difference between them and the competitors is that they will auto book the campsites, where the other ones just send you like a text or an email alert that the campsite is available. And if you don't act on it immediately, the other person gets it. And so that auto book feature is the difference. And I just can't give them enough shout outs for how they changed our camping in the last year. Cause we like to be on site at the state parks. Like that is, we buy a state park pass in Florida every year so that we can go to all of them, do all the paddling adventures, do the hiking, even though it's flat. That's what we want to do on a daily basis, is connect with nature. And so if that's the kind of thing you enjoy, RV is an app you absolutely have to have. And it's not just for Florida either. It's for all of the United States. Not all the state parks are in there, but they add new sites every day. They also have KOAs and a few other of like the big name campgrounds. So yeah, I could go on and on about apps and tools for hours, but those are probably the two that I would say are my like non-negotiables, must-haves.
RV, ARVIE, and then RV Life Pro. Yeah. So
RV Life Pro.
I just had RV Life Pro on, so it'd be fun to pull that one up. Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and they do the big fun events. They do like the Hershey. They do a big event at Hershey the week of the RV show, and then they do another one typically down in Tampa area for the RV show for all of their users. And those are such great just experiences to connect with other RVers, especially if you're in like the networking space where you're doing it as a business. There's just no better way to connect with the community than events like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Bringing back that RV community in general. This Hershey is huge. Tampa's huge. There's a couple other ones. Novi's a real big one in Michigan, all that stuff. But Leah, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. You're full of energy. You're full of fun. You can see the light coming off of you. I mean, you definitely, I feel it through. I'm not even anywhere near you. You're on the other side of the states, but I can feel your energy. It's wonderful. I'm glad you're happy. You're enjoying everything. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we kind of close things up here?
Just hope that people, get out and try something new. Like, get out and try RVing. If it's not for you, at least you can say you tried something different.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. It's like, well, I have this, a lot of people say like, why would you do that? Well, why not? It's kind of cliche, but why not? Like what, I mean, we're all, you only get one, as far as we know, we get one shot at this life. Why not go give it a shot? If you want to do it, go do it. In my opinion, but it's not for everybody.
And you know what? It's actually good it's not for everyone, because then there's more campsites for us.
There you go. Listen to Leah. She knows what she's talking about. But if so facto, if there's nothing else, I'm going to kind of close it out here, guys. Again, BishFix is a huge deal. Check out bishfix.com. If you want a BishFix discount, why is it not showing? There it is. If you want a BishFix discount, use the code RVVoice. It is $199 a year, and that locks you in for years to come, because it will be going up soon. At what price? $500 probably. It might go up more. Who knows? I don't run that stuff. So that being said, Leah, thank you very much. Llama Llama Adventures, guys, give them a follow. Check out their store. You can check out their store right here by the washing machine, whatever else. She got all sorts of stuff on there. Their TikTok, she's growing there as well. Check out their website, because she can help you the paid, not trade, with the ladies out there. If you want to learn how to make money, paid, not trade, go check out her stuff there, and their IG is where I found them, and that's how we're connected. So thank you, Instagram, on that. But again, Leah, thank you so much for being a light in my day, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And everyone watching, stay tuned for more from the RV Voice.